Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OEMC. I'm Rich Guidice, Executive Director of the Chicago Office of Emergency Management and Communications. It's been a year of extremes with the pandemic, civil unrest. May 2020 was the wettest on record, historic flooding due to high lake levels, an EF1 tornado, the warmest summer since 1871, and now the winter season is upon us. Today, we are here to assure residents that the City of Chicago has services available to help residents cope safely with extreme winter weather conditions. The city's top priority is public safety, and the City of Chicago is committed to keeping Chicagoans safe from dangerous conditions by coordinating the city's response efforts to weather emergencies. To ensure the City of Chicago is prepared for the winter season, as we do every year, OEMC hosted a winter workshop in October with public safety, infrastructure, and various city departments and agencies to plan the coordination of operations for the coming months. We want to ensure that residents and businesses consider how the cold and changing weather conditions will impact your planning and to take precautions in order to be prepared. Throughout the year, OEMC monitors conditions with National Weather Service and coordinates response efforts with the city departments and public partners to notify residents of any advisories, warnings, and emergencies. This week alone, we experienced some snow and a lake flood advisory due to high winds and waves. Severe cold temperatures, strong winds, and snow can cause additional hazards, whether at home or traveling. It is important to stay informed, and that's why OEMC issues several text alerts and notifications to keep residents and businesses up to date on weather conditions and emergencies. Residents can sign up to chicago.gov/OEMC, and they include Notify Chicago for weather and traffic updates, Shy Lake for lakefront alerts, including lakefront flooding, Shy Biz provides businesses with geo-targeted alerts, and COVID for up-to-date alerts on the pandemic.
Can you go through those again one more time?
Yes. I'll say it one more time. OEMC issues several alerts and notifications to keep residents and businesses up to date on weather conditions and emergencies. Residents can sign up at chicago.gov/OEMC, and they include Notify Chicago for weather and traffic updates, Shy Lake for lakefront alerts, including lakefront flooding, Shy Biz provides businesses with geo-targeted alerts, and COVID for up-to-date alerts on the pandemic. As the city braces for the winter months ahead, it's also important for residents to take care of themselves and continue to provide assistance to neighbors, family members, pets, and friends, particularly those who are elderly or have disabilities. Staying connected is key to being safe. Again, it's imperative to keep informed of weather conditions. OEMC also encourages residents to keep an emergency kit at home and in your car, because you never know when you'll need it, and it saves lives. Those seeking a warm place to go or require overnight shelter, call 311, visit 311.chicago.gov, or download the Shy 311 app to be connected with available services and to learn about the city's designated warming centers, which you'll hear more about this morning from the Department of Family and Support Services. For information on how to receive the emergency text alerts, sign up for the Shy 311 app, as well as additional weather preparedness tips. I encourage everyone to visit chicago.gov/OEMC. I'd like to thank Mayor Lightfoot and all the city departments, agencies, and organizations who come together to keep Chicago safe, not only during the winter season, but all year round. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of the City of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Excuse me, Mayor.
Good morning. How are you? Let me thank the members of the administration that are here with us today. Of course, you just heard from OEMC Director Rich Guidice. We're also going to hear from Mark Sanders, who's the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Family and Support Services, Commissioner John Tully from Streets and Sanitation, and Eric Ayala, Manager of Emergency Response at People's Gas. Thank you also for being here. As Chicagoans, we obviously know a thing or two about getting ready and dealing with winter weather. And how during this time period we are presented with serious and sometimes life-threatening conditions. As you can see from everyone here, and you see from the videos that are scrolling behind us, We are responding with a collaborative, all-hands-on-deck approach with our city agencies and departments to make sure that our residents have what they need and are kept safe during the winter. Now, this normal effort is made all the more challenging because of COVID-19 pandemic, but we are ready and will rise to the occasion as we have all year long. Regardless, our shared mission remains the same, and that is to keep our city running and all of our residents safe and secure throughout the winter season. In a moment, you'll hear from some of the other commissioners and department members who are here who will provide further details about what their individual departments are doing to make sure that our residents are prepared and safe during the winter months. But before they do, I want to personally highlight some of the services and resources we'll be providing to our residents during the winter season. First and foremost, the city will be keeping our streets clear and our public transit open and available. I want to remind folks that the Chicago Transit Authority was the only major transit authority in the country that ran with full services throughout the pandemic, and we continue to do so. I want to thank Dorval Carter, President Carter of the CTA, as well as all the hard-working men and women on rail and bus who have persevered through this difficult time to make sure that our residents had access to a public transit system that could get them to and from on their daily journeys. So thank you very much to the men and women of the CTA. I want to also emphasize that we will rigorously uphold building codes to ensure our residents aren't exposed to dangerously cold temperatures. And we have with us Building Commissioner Matt Boudreau. This is critically important because one of the things that we know is difficult conditions in buildings become exacerbated when there's extreme weather conditions, and a winter is no less. So the building department, it will be running point in making sure that buildings meet the standards that they need to for our residents during the course of this winter and pandemic. And if there are any issues there, again, please do call 311. I'd like to also remind everyone that at my request, ComEd and Peoples Gas have suspended shutoffs, ensuring everyone's electricity and gas will be running during this crucial time. I want to emphasize that again. There will be no shutoffs of electricity or gas by Peoples Gas or by ComEd during this time period. And to make sure that everyone is connected, please make sure you call either 866-556-6002. That's 866-556-6002. Or if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to call 311. Now that means not only for the folks who are worried about being able to pay their electricity or their gas bill, but if you're already shut off, we have a process for you to get reconnected. So don't hesitate to take advantage of this program at 866-556-6002. Third, we will have winter warming centers open throughout Chicago when residents need a warm place to go. And like every indoor space in the city, these warming centers will follow all COVID-19 protocols to ensure everyone is safe from the cold temperature outside as well as safe inside when they're taking refuge. So have no fear about going to a warming center. We will be following the COVID-19 indoor safety protocols. During extreme weather, these services, along with many others, will be available around the clock as needed. And finally, as always, our outreach will encompass every single neighborhood in this great city, with a special focus on our most vulnerable populations, including our seniors, residents with disabilities, and Chicagoans experiencing homelessness, to make sure folks can receive the support they need and deserve, particularly during this difficult and challenging time. But in order to stay safe, every resident here must continue to do their part to stop the spread of COVID-19. I want to emphasize the things that we've been saying all throughout this pandemic, but it always bears repeating. One, our stay-at-home advisory remains in place. This includes staying home unless you absolutely must go out for essential reasons like work, school, medical visits, food, or other essentials. Otherwise, please do stay at home. And don't allow visitors in your home unless they're essential workers, like home health care or education workers. Avoid unnecessary travel and continue to wear your mask when leaving your home. Folks, masks aren't political. Masks are about saving lives. So please make sure that you have a mask. If you don't have one or don't have access to one, again, call 311 and we will make sure that you're equipped with a mask. Remember social distancing. That works as well. And wash your hands regularly. This is how we protect Chicago and save lives, save you, your loved ones, and the life of your entire city. I want to also emphasize another part of our Protect Chicago plan, and step aside here and show this vest. You'll recall that when we announced our Protect Chicago plan a few weeks back, one crucial part of it is that we were going to be sending people to those census tracts and zip codes with the highest incidence of cases and percent positivity. That work has been ongoing now for several weeks. We started in Belmont-Cragen, and we're expanding that to other areas of the city. If you see people walking around with these vests, know that they are your neighbors and are part of Protect Chicago. They are coming to provide support and information to you in your neighborhoods about the things that you can do to protect yourself around COVID-19, but also to connect up with services that may be necessary. So see these yellow vests with the Protect Chicago logo? They are your neighbors there to help you. So please make sure that you respond when they knock on your door. Finally, let's make sure that we continue to be neighbors to each other. Make sure that you check on your neighbors. If you haven't made a plan, make sure that you're interacting and getting contact information for your immediate neighbors and share yours. We have to make sure that we take care of each other. We want to make sure that we're checking in, particularly on our most vulnerable residents, our seniors who may be living alone, may need a little extra support or just a human contact during this difficult time. Don't forget to do that. And don't hesitate to call 311 for any information or 911 if it's an emergency. As we have been saying throughout this pandemic, and will continue to be saying for many months to come, we must be all in this together. What I do, what you do, affects everyone else around you. And thinking that way and taking ownership of our own personal responsibility in this time of a pandemic is how we have gotten through this so far and how we will get through it. We've been making progress, but we're far from out of the woods, and there's more hard work that must be done. And I want to commend every Chicagoan who understands this, who has stepped up, who has done the right thing for themselves, for their family, for their neighbors, for their neighborhood. Hang in there, and keep doing the right thing. And for those of you who haven't taken this pandemic seriously, who don't think you need to abide by the public health guidance, no time like the present to turn that around. We are still seeing a high number of deaths in our city, an unconscionable number of deaths. And that number will continue to rise if all of us don't take seriously the fact that we are in this pandemic and that we all need to step up and do more to help ourselves, to help our family and loved ones, and to help our neighbors. We are not going to we're not going to rest as a city until we make sure that every single Chicagoan is protected. A lofty goal, to be sure, but one that we can achieve, but we can only get there if you and everyone around you steps up and does the right thing. At this point, I'd like to invite Mark Sanders from the Department of Family and Support Services, a Deputy Commissioner, to come and talk about what DFSS is going to be doing to help protect residents this winter. Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mark Sanders, Deputy Commissioner, Workforce and Human Services with the Department of Family and Support Services. We offer warming centers at 6 different locations throughout the city of Chicago. One in South Chicago on 87th and Commercial, Inglewood on Racine and 79th, King on Cottage Grove and 43rd Street, as well as Garfield on the corner of Kedzie and Madison. We have another location, Trina Davila on North Avenue and Kildare, as well as our North area location on the corner of Wilson and Hazel. These warming centers will be open from 9 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, with extended hours available as needed. These centers will be activated when the temperatures are 32 degrees or below, and we will make sure, as the mayor mentioned, that all social distancing and mask cloth coverings should be worn at all times and will be continue to be enforced while you're in the building. For assistance after hours, we encourage everyone to call 311 to be connected to the available programs in your area, including placement and transportation to shelter. The Garfield Community Service Center at 10 South Kedzie is open 24/7 to all residents, and we use that facility to connect families and residents to emergency shelter. In addition to serving as warming centers, these community service centers also provide wraparound services, including rental assistance, shelter placement, and domestic violence program protection, and other programs are accessible here at these community service centers. Again, residents who are concerned about their family members, neighbors, and loved ones, you can also call 311 to request a well-being check, where we have a task force assigned that will provide those services. Finally, information on any of our warming centers, as the mayor has previously mentioned, is available at 311 and also on our DFSS webpage at chicago.gov/FSS. Thank you. Next is John Tully, Commissioner, Department of Streets and Sanitation.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm John Tully, the Commissioner, Department of Streets and Sanitation. I'd like to thank Mayor Lightfoot and all the city agencies who help to keep our city safe, as well as our private partners. At Streets and Sanitation, safety is our top priority during any winter event. Each year, we start preparing for the winter season during July. Streets and Sanitation's full fleet of more than 330 snow plows and spreaders are available, and we're prepared to respond to snow when we have 400,000 tons of salt at various locations throughout the city. We work with our partners here at OEMC to monitor and coordinate our city response before, during any winter event and storm. And then we also, as Rich likes to do often, is have an after-action plan to critique what we do. So it's a very well-oiled machine. We use Doppler radar, cameras, and sensors to not only watch for snow, but also any icy conditions that cause hazardous conditions on the roads. We adjust these resources before and during a storm based on what's happening on the streets because there's many different variables. Please check the department's social media accounts for deployment updates and visit www.chicagoshovels.org to view our fleet in real time during storms. I'd like to remind all residents that the city's overnight parking ban took effect on Tuesday, and parking is restricted on 107 miles of the city's main roadways between 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., regardless of snow, until April 1st. There's also a separate snow-related ban that affects another 500 miles of main roadways across the city that is activated during the department during extreme weather, and it has to be really extreme. When there's at least 2 inches of snow on the street, regardless of the time and date on the calendar. These bans are an important tool that the city uses to ensure that the roads are safe and passable for motorists, buses, and emergency vehicles. It is very critical. I ask that you double check all the posted signage before you park to avoid being ticketed and towed. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Eric Ayala from People's Gas.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Eric Ayala. I'm the Emergency Response Manager for People's Gas. And today I want to talk about some safety tips for this upcoming winter season. So at People's and North Shore Gas, our customers are our #1 priority, their safety. And we want to make sure having furnaces and boilers inspected, ensuring appliances are in good working order, and installing and remembering to test carbon monoxide detectors are just some of the few ways to keep your families and friends safe. We encourage residents to put safety first and follow these additional safety steps throughout the heating season to ensure they stay safe and have a warm winter. So some of the heating safety tips we want to discuss is making sure that keeping the area around the furnace and water heater free from clutter and any combustible items is a priority. You never use a stove or oven to heat your home. We want to keep a fire extinguisher in your kitchen readily accessible at all times. Follow a space heater's instructions carefully and use with proper ventilation, and never operate an electric generator in an enclosed or partially enclosed area. It requires proper ventilation and an outdoor space. Some carbon monoxide prevention tips. We want to check the batteries and carbon monoxide alarms, smoke detectors to make sure they are working properly. We want to replace all carbon monoxide alarms that are older than 5 years. You want to have all fuel burning appliance flues, vents, and chimneys checked regularly for blockage. If carbon monoxide poisoning is suspected, get everybody out of the house and call 911 or emergency medical help immediately. Some other winter tips to think about is keep natural gas meters clear of ice and snow for safety and accessibility. You never shovel snow up against meters or let excessive snow build up to cover a meter. We want to, if you remove snow or ice from meters by hand, please do so by hand or with a broom. Shovels and other larger tools can damage the equipment. If you can, please safely remove hanging icicles to prevent dripping water from freezing meters and any outside piping. If you have any additional gas appliances that vent outside of your home, we ask that you remember to keep those vent pipes clear of ice and snow. And want to kind of make sure if you're experiencing any natural gas emergency similar to what the mayor just previously said, please contact us immediately at 866-556-6002. Additionally, we urge any customers experiencing financial difficulties to contact us and discuss financial assistance options at 866-556-6001. All this information about safety and financial assistance can also be found on our webpage, www.peoplesgasdelivery.com. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you. I'm Matt Baudet, the building commissioner. As the mayor mentioned, heat is very important to public safety, quality of life, and is something that we take very seriously and we enforce vigorously. Under the mayor's leadership, our inspectors have been out there every day during the pandemic, and we will continue to be out there to protect the public safety. Just a reminder to everybody that the heat ordinance is in effect from September 1st through June 1st, or sorry, September 15th through June 1st, and the requirement is 68 degrees from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. and 66 degrees from 10:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And as the mayor mentioned, if there's any questions, please call 311. We will be out there and we're there to protect you. Thank you, Mayor.
And before I take questions, let me just emphasize one other thing. Part of the reason that we pushed so strongly to make sure that there would be no shutoffs by either ComEd or People's Gas is because one of the things that we know happens is when people get shut off, they use other alternatives to try to heat their home. Don't heat your home with your oven or your stove. That is dangerous. It always leads to fires. Don't do it. If you have a challenge with either heat or gas, please take advantage of the opportunities that are being provided by ComEd and by People's Gas. Call 311. We will connect you up with services. If you have any other challenges, making sure that your home is properly heated during the winter, reach out to us. There's lots of services that we can provide to connect you up with services, but don't resort to heating your home with your stove. That is so dangerous and so risky. And finally, please make sure that you've got operating fire and smoke detectors in your house. Again, the fire department, I think, over the years has done a tremendous job in partnership with many vendors to make sure that we can put smoke detectors in the homes of folks. If you don't have an operating smoke detector, we can get you one. Check the batteries on your existing smoke detectors to make sure that they're still operational. These are the basic things that we need you to do to take care of yourself during the course of the winter. And again, if you've got any questions, concerns, or you need help, please do call 311. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Hi, Mark with WC5.
Nice to see you.
I'll be representing several of my colleagues.
Okay.
Starting on topic, and a little warm up here. Ryan Burrow from WGN Radio asks, Mayor, where do you stand on the Chicago tradition of dibs?
Oh, the what, I'm sorry? Dibs?
Tradition
Oh.
of dibs.
Look, as someone who has spent time digging out my car before I had access to a garage, I absolutely understand it. But the problem with dibs is, and I think Commissioner Tully would attest, when there's a new snowfall and we need to clear the street, the dibs get in the way. So the dibs get washed away. So I don't encourage dibs. I understand that it's a longstanding Chicago tradition. And again, having been out there and, shovel the snow, dug my car out, got it running. I understand why people do it, but we don't encourage it.
All right, thank you. This next question is actually probably from Mr. Tully. Bill Cameron with WLS Radio asks, what does the city need to do to get recycling rates up? There's been a couple of items being in the news lately about recycling rates maybe not being as good as they could be. Sure. And can you address that for Bill?
Yeah, let me start and then I'll turn to Tully. Part of the challenge with recycling is that the market for recycled products has really just fallen off precipitously. That's part of the challenge. Look, we're in the process of reevaluating everything about our recycling program. A city like Chicago, unfortunately, we've never really gotten it right. We had the bins, then we had the bags, now we've got the recycling bins again. And we've had some challenges with some of our vendors. So it's time for us to get it right, and it's also time for commercial properties also to step up. So I'm happy to have John fill in more details, but this is a process that we take seriously, and we're reevaluating what we need to do to incentivize people to step up. John, you got to from the podium.
As the mayor alluded to, obviously we're not happy with the situation as well. We're approaching this in a twofold right now. Actually, as of Friday, the new contracts for recycling vendors will be due to be submitted. So that's part of the process. And part of that ask is to have more reports so that we can monitor this stuff. The other part of it is we've been working with a private vendor, Delta Institute, to take a look at our entire recycling stream. And that includes both food waste and also compost, all that. So we're looking at that right now. The most recent story about high density apartment buildings, it's really become difficult, but it's something we're looking at as part of this study. We're really not servicing those buildings. We service units up to 4 units. Obviously, it's important to us to make sure that happens. But the mayor has a team in place that has people with experience, and part of it had to do with back a couple of years ago before this administration, the dissolution of the Department of Environment. So, and then Streets and Sanitation absorbed many of those responsibilities. And we agree with the Inspector General's conclusions in that report, and we're going to approach it that way. So you'll be seeing something from the Delta Institute along with our, input on that fairly shortly. So, and lastly, the other thing is that in Chicago, unlike many of the other municipalities, we pick up everything that's in the alley. We pick up tires, we pick up, mattresses, and that adds to the total amount of refuse that's picked up. Now, if you take what we're taking out of recycling, and you still have this high percentage of other garbage, it reduces what we've actually recycled. So we're going to get better.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thanks. All right, Mayor, let's dive into a couple of these that are off topic of winter weather. Craig Wall from Channel 7 asks, CDC guidelines on COVID and travel are changing on a national level. What are your plans on the local level to change anything before Christmas travel? And if you are going to do so, when will you make that decision?
Well, I think that the most recent thing from the CDC that's changed is the days of quarantining. And as Dr. Arwady indicated last week, we will follow the CDC guidelines. Look, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make sure that people, A, have access to the right information, they have the tools that they need to protect themselves, and that we actually get compliance. So that's why I think, in part, the CDC revisited the length of the quarantining period and changed it from 14 days to 7 if you are asymptomatic and you get a test. So we're going to be following the CDC guidelines.
Okay. Kelly Bauer from Block Club is asking, will you push for CPS teachers to become a priority when vaccines for COVID become available due to their status as essential in our classrooms? And, what's your position on where they should be in the line?
Well, the CDC has set the priorities of who will get the vaccines and in what order. And as part of being able to access those vaccines directly as a city, the CDC mandated that we agree to follow their guidelines. So we, in the first instance, who gets it are going to be, not surprisingly, those frontline healthcare workers. And the initial tranche of vaccines that we anticipate getting won't even cover all of them. And we anticipate getting a percentage of what we're going to need, but that'll ramp up over time. If you follow the matrix of who will get the vaccine in what order, I think you're going to see that this is being done, at least in Chicago, it turns out through an equity lens. So you look at those healthcare workers, you look at those essential workers, and then on from there, that is going to cover many people that are in our most vulnerable populations, but also it's going to cover people who have been on the front lines and at most at risk of contracting COVID-19. So I feel satisfied with the CDC guidelines, but not surprisingly, we have little ability now, since it's set in stone, to impact what the priority order will be. If we see that there's a problem, then obviously I won't hesitate to speak up. But so far what we've seen, it makes sense, it's in a logical order, and the goal is to make sure that these tests come online, these vaccines come online as quickly as possible, and that there's a ramp up in the number of vaccines that are available. The leading vaccines and companies require 2 shots. So we are ready and prepared. We've got the cold storage ready. We've got the infrastructure built out. But the biggest challenge is going to be making sure that we get enough vaccine and that we educate folks about why they should get vaccinated. And we're prepared to do all those things.
Right. This next question is from Dana Kozlov, who's now to for Mr. Guidice.
Yeah.
She's asking you what happened to the promise that the city's 800 crossing guards would not lose their jobs. She's hearing that they're having to reapply for these jobs with the school district. Or anyone?
Not true.
Okay.
The 800 crossing guards have been moved over to CPS. All of them have their jobs. We are finalizing the final details of what the contract terms will be through a memorandum agreement to make sure that CPS takes care of them in exactly the same way that they were from OEMC. So I don't know where that rumor is coming from, but that's just absolutely not correct. And I've personally been involved in that. In those discussions with the union. So that's not correct. And frankly, it's really unfortunate that something like that would even be propagated. People, in a time where our economy is really stressed and there are so many people unemployed, really, I would ask the media, please check your sources before you put something like that out there. That's just not right.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This is coming from Fran Spielman with the Sun-Times.
Wait, one question from Fran or multiple questions from Fran?
Well, I was just going to start with one. Her priority for the answer this morning is her reporting that the Fraternal Order of Police president says you and your top aides are calling all the shots at CPD, and the FOP president claims the superintendent is a figurehead. Do you have a response for us today?
Yeah, we gave a response to that foolishness, I think, yesterday. Unfortunately, John Canizera values being in the media, and he'll say anything outrageous, false, to get attention, and unfortunately, Fran has become his major mouthpiece. There's nothing that guy says in the media these days that's true, and that claim is really untrue. David Brown is an experienced, well-respected law enforcement professional. He is fully in charge of the Chicago Police Department. Obviously, he consults with me, as every single city commissioner does, but to suggest that he is a figurehead, frankly, is racist and insulting.
Last 2 questions.
Okay, and a couple of words had a question about Mike Madigan. Do you feel he should be reelected as speaker? This is related to the comment bribery scandal. Will you be lobbying different members of the Chicago delegation to stand against him, or will you stay out of the fray on this one?
Well, obviously, I've been following the developments with great interest. As a former federal prosecutor, it won't surprise you that I've read the various charging documents in great detail. And some of these folks are people that I know from my life as a lawyer, where I was representing folks who agreed with good government and transparency around redistricting reforms. And some of the people that have been named in the recent indictments were folks who stood up on behalf of sponsors to oppose that. And so it's been interesting to me to watch how this has unfolded with those folks who put themselves into the fray on behalf of a higher power. I find it, I've been watching with great interest the number of people who have stood up and said that they will not vote for Mike Madigan as Speaker of the House. I think the number of Democrats that have come out now numbers something like 19. And by the math that's been reported, he doesn't have enough to become the next Speaker. I've also watched with great interest the number of people who have been silent and who haven't stood up. What I'll say is this, and I'll have more to say about this at another time, but I think my record on integrity, transparency, and government, I've been very clear about that. I've lived these values for quite a long time, well before I became mayor. And I've said this many times since I've become mayor. Our democracy depends upon the people believing in leadership, the people believing that the leaders stand for them, that we are working hard every single day on behalf of the people and not on behalf of ourselves. That is the only way that our democracy will survive and flourish, is if people have confidence in the people they elected to do the right thing for them, that they are reflected in everything that we do, that their lived experience is reflected in the policies that we put forward. That doesn't happen when there is a cloud that hangs. That doesn't happen when people feel like elected officials have been completely compromised and have an agenda that has nothing to do with doing the people's business. I think that's the wrong direction for any of us. It's hard to be an elected official. It's hard to be a leader at any time. It's particularly hard during this time when we're dealing with crisis after crisis after crisis. But that's what the job demands, is for us to step up and to lead. And you can't do that if you don't have the legitimacy of the people that elected you in the first place. So that's not just a statement about Mike Madigan, this is a statement about all of us. In this time in our state, in our city, in our county, we are all need to step up and put people first. So as I said, I'll have more to say about this issue later.
Last question. Good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering the questions.
Thank you. Take care.